A fierce fight tonight at the National Stadium as the 2020 AFF Suzuki Cup enters its knockout stage. Singapore took on Indonesia in the first leg of their semi-final before a sellout crowd of 10,000. Indonesia came out on the attack in the first half, with Witan Sulaiman scoring the opening goal in the 27th minute from Asnawi Mangkualam assist.
Something happened for his team down that right-hand side. Was against him as well.
But Singapore dominated the second half, the pressure paying off in the 69th minute. Iksan Fandi making it 1-1 thanks to a through ball from Faris Ramli.
That pass into the space that was left behind. That quality.
The two teams will face each other again in the second leg of the semi-final on Christmas Day. Viewers in Singapore can catch that match and all the action from the tournament live on MeWatch.
And for more, we are joined by independent sports commentator Des Corkhill. Des, firstly, what a mouth-watering clash this is. Is that the scoreline that you predicted? Because a lot of people said Singapore was coming in as the underdogs despite the home ground advantage.
Well, Indonesia performed so well in knocking out Malaysia. I think they took everybody by surprise. They're a bit of an unknown quantity coming into this tournament because they're a radically changed squad from the team that played in the World Cup qualifiers and didn't do well. So not many of us knew an awful lot about this Indonesia side. But they've come out in an attacking vein. They got a terrific result against Vietnam. Then they absolutely hammered Malaysia. So, yeah, you're right. I think Singapore came into this with a little bit of trepidation. And that showed in the first half, where Singapore were a little bit tentative, a little bit negative. But Haris Harun moved back into a central defensive position after the break, and Singapore seemed to get more of a grip of the game. Amun Antan came in and dominated midfield, and Singapore thoroughly deserved that second half equaliser from Iksan Fandi. And it's beautifully set up for the second leg with, I think, the bonus, Ateli, that Singapore now know they don't have to be scared of anything Indonesia have. I think they go in maybe with the psychological edge with this 1-1 draw.
Yeah, the work's not done, Des. They've still got one more leg to go. What more does Singapore need to do to reach the final?
Well, very simply, Dawn, they've got to win. But I think they've got to take an awful lot of confidence from their second half performance. The technical or the tactical tweaks that were made by Tatsuda at half-time, withdrawing Haris and getting the ball, getting more control defensively. That was the base upon which Singapore were able to build in the second half. Faris Ramli got more and more involved in the game. He got a little bit more space. Amun Antan, as I said, was a lot more dominant in midfield than Haris had been. And so that, I think, is the template for Singapore to try to take on a very decent Indonesian side. They move the ball very quickly to Indonesia. And down the flanks, Asmawi in particular, down the right-hand side, and Wijan, as we saw for the goal, they can be very dangerous. But I think the template has been set for Singapore. And I would be surprised if Tatsuda changes from that Haris at the back formation for the second leg on Christmas Day.
Now, the Lions, making their first semi-final in 9 years, do you think that gave them the extra push to want to prove to the crowd that, we've got it?
No, I tell you what, I think this is a really, really important ASEAN Championship for Singapore because they've got a lot of players like Safwan, Haris, Hassan Sunny, approaching 30, 31, Safwan Barudin as well. So they are towards the tail end of their career. And then you've got the Iksans and the Irfans and the Zulkarnains who are at the other end of their career. And you've got this perfect match with Faris in the middle of that, Amun Antan in the middle of that. So you've got experience, you've got youth, you've got players at the peak of their careers. And this is really important, I think, for Singapore to do well, to progress to the final, to actually show that the standards of Singapore football aren't as bad as the critics would have you believe. There is an awful lot of stick thrown out to Singapore football, sometimes by me on Sassie's show on a Saturday morning. But I think this is a good group of players. And Tatsuda, I think, has coached them well and has utilised them well. He's changed formations depending on the tactics. But I think that if Singapore make it to the final, it'll be a big plus for the game. If they go out in the semi-finals, you know what? I think there could be a lot of damage to Singapore football. This is a huge, huge game for Singapore football on December the 25th.
Well, Des, the lads played so well tonight, but let's not forget about the fans. We had a record number turning out to watch them. How much does their support mean to the team at this point?
Any player will tell you that you've got to have the fans behind you. I'm just grateful, and I'm sure the Singapore players are grateful, that this isn't a two-leg, that they've got to go to the Senayan in the second leg, because the Indonesian fans can be particularly raucous. But it was a pretty good atmosphere. 10,000 in a 50,000 stadium, it can rattle around, but there were good song selections, have got to be said. There were throaty cheers, and that can only help the players. And I'm sure it helped as Singapore improved in the second half. So the crowd improved in the second half. However, you shouldn't put too much on it, because there's such a big barrier between the playing surface and the stands. It doesn't have that much an influence. It is, Otelli and Dawn, all down to what the players do on the field of play. Yes, they'll get that little boost that they've got, a second home advantage. But no, it's all down to their players and their abilities that they've worked for years and years to hone. And this is a big, big moment in their careers.
And Des, you know, you're a household name. You've been a witness to Singapore's football development for years now. How would you sum up the current state of the nation's football development, and what do they need to do to take it, further from here on?
Oh gosh, so many easy ones, I tell you, huh? I've always worried a little bit that Singapore's got too small of a football base. There's only 6 professional clubs, plus Albirex, and plus the Young Lions. And I always feel that's not enough to actually develop a competitive group of players to come through the ranks, because that's what you need to be having. All the top nations have players who are playing competitively. So I hope that the Singapore League can build on this and maybe develop a second division, which we've been talking about for a long time. But also, I'm delighted to see that Iksan Fandi has signed for BG Pathum United to join his brother Irfan there. Safwan has played abroad. Harris has played in Malaysia. Faris Ramli has played in Malaysia. I don't think it's any coincidence that Singapore's better players are those who have plied their trade abroad, where the expectations on the individual players are that much higher as a foreign player. So if the league can't expand and become ultra competitive in the short term, get more players going out into leagues as far away as you possibly can. Get players out of their comfort zone. That's what Indonesia have done. And out of nothing, they have created a team that is genuinely competitive and a surprise to us all. So get Singapore players out playing in competitive leagues.
Des, thank you for your thoughts tonight. Des Corkill, their independent sports commentator.
Well, the last time Singapore was in the semi-finals of the AFF Suzuki Cup was 9 years ago, and when they went on to become champions. And fans clearly couldn't wait to show their support. Some turned up early at the Singapore Sports Hub, where games booths have been set up so they can test their football skills and win some prizes. And that pretty much wraps up Singapore tonight. Congratulations, Singapore. We will leave you now with more highlights.